You think a CEO quitting to become a regular guy is a happy ending. You're wrong. The real storm is just now hitting James and Diep's little family. After seeing her son living like a manual laborer, James's mom told the boss everything. On a stormy night, a shocking decision was made, and the next morning, a convoy of black cars and a team of lawyers set off. Did Mr. Min come to apologize or to execute one last cruel deal, using money to buy his grandson? Does James have enough guts to protect the woman he loves against the power of his own father? The answer will floor you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss the most dramatic showdown in today's episode. The morning dew was still clinging to the leaves, and the air was so fresh you could smell the damp soil and wild grass. Diep and little Ly were hard at work by the rows of pure white radishes. Little Ly cheeks flushed red from the cold wind giggled as she tried to use both hands to pull up a radish that was almost as big as her arm. Auntie Diep, this one is huge. I can't pull it up. Her voice echoed across the corner of the hill. Diep smiled a gentle smile that still held a hint of worry in her eyes. She walked over, placing her thin but warm hand over Ly's. Here, let me help you. You have to grab it close to the base, wiggle it a bit, to loosen the soil, and then pull hard. 1, 2, 3. The juicy white radish popped out of the ground, bringing up clumps of black earth with it. This was the result of 3 months of hard work, no chemical fertilizers, not a single drop of pesticide. Diep carefully placed each one into the woven bamboo basket. She whispered to Ly, "We're taking these to the market today. If we sell them all, I'll buy some meat to make stewed radish soup. As for the small ones, I'll dry them out to make salted radishes for you to eat later. They're really crunchy." The scene looked like a painting. But few people knew how many tears Diep had shed to get this moment of peace, or the heavy price her man James had paid. As Diep was stacking the radishes into the basket, her mind drifted back to the past, to a night with heavy rain and lightning tearing across the sky. In the massive gold-plated living room, the atmosphere was bone-chillingly cold. James, still wearing a crisp Italian suit, back then stood facing his father, the chairman, a man with eyes as sharp as knives. "Say that again." The tycoon's voice rang out, barely suppressing his rage. "I'm going to marry Diep. I don't care about her background. She's the only one who makes me feel like I'm alive, not just a money-making machine." "James," replied, his voice steady, but his clenched fists trembling. Crash, a crystal glass shattered at James's feet. "Idiot, I arranged a marriage with the daughter of our rival corporation to solidify this empire. You dare to defy me for some country girl. If you walk out that door with her, you lose everything. Money, status, inheritance, and this prestigious last name. I will freeze every account. You won't have a penny to your name." James looked at his father, his eyes shifting from pain to cold indifference. He slowly took off the Patek Philippe watch on his wrist and placed it on the table, followed by his supercar keys and the powerful black card, leaving it all on the mahogany surface. "If the price of power is being lonely and cruel like you, then I refuse. I'm giving it all back to you." James turned and walked away. Outside the iron gate, Diep was waiting in the rain, shivering and scared. James rushed over and held her tight. No supercar, no bodyguards. That night, they held hands and ran away from the magnificent city, leaving an entire empire behind in exchange for freedom. The noise of the market pulled Diep back to reality. The sun was high now, and the heat was getting harsh. Diep sat in a small corner, laying the fresh, snow-white radishes out on a tarp. But reality wasn't as poetic as the harvest. A middle-aged woman stopped by, picked up a radish, and frowned. "Why is this so expensive, honey, over there? They're selling a bunch for $5,000. Why are yours 3 times the price?" Diep hurriedly explained, her voice earnest. "Ma'am, these are 100% clean vegetables. I grow them on the high hills, no growth stimulants at all. These radishes are very sweet and crunchy. You get what you pay for." The woman scoffed and dropped the radish. "Clean, dirty, who cares? In a country market like this, it's hard enough just to get full. Nobody cares if it's clean or not. Whatever, I'll save the money to buy meat." Customers came and went. Diep's passionate products, high-end produce that should have been in 5-star restaurants serving the elite, were now lying neglected in a dusty rural market. Here people either grew their own food or just wanted whatever was cheapest. The quality that James and Diep were trying to preserve had become the very barrier keeping them from fitting in. Diep watched the radishes wilting in the sun, her heart sinking. She didn't mind her own hard work. She just felt terrible for James. He was like an eagle that had voluntarily clipped its wings to learn how to walk like a chicken, yet life still wouldn't cut them a break. This struggle wasn't just about sales. It was a bitter metaphor for their reality, high-class people, completely out of place in the rough tumble of everyday life. While Diep was struggling at the market, where was James? At a timber yard, a tall man was heaving heavy acacia logs onto a truck. It was James. The designer dress shirts of the past had been swapped for a fraying t-shirt soaked through with sweat. His handsome face, which had once graced the covers of business magazines, was now smeared with sawdust and tanned from the elements. Hands that used to only hold pens to sign million-dollar contracts were now calloused and covered in bloody scratches. During the lunch break, he sat right on the ground, taking a sip of bitter green tea. An older worker sitting next to him offered him a puff of tobacco. "Hey kid, you don't look like a manual laborer. How'd you end up drifting here, doing this backbreaking work?" James smiled a strangely gentle smile, his gaze drifting toward the hill where their simple stone house stood. "I used to think I had it all, Uncle. But back then, my head always felt like it was about to explode. But now," James looked at his dirty hands, "now my body is sore and aching, but my mind is incredibly light. When I lay down at night, I sleep soundly. I don't have to worry about anyone stabbing me in the back." He remembered his father's ultimatum. His father thought that stripping away his money would force James to crawl back on his knees. But he was wrong. The lack of material wealth had helped James find an inner strength he never knew he had. This job, James continued, his voice deep and warm, "it helps me protect the woman I love. As long as she smiles, I'd carry 100 more logs and it would be worth it." Night fell as James returned to the tiny stone house perched precariously on the hillside. He saw Diep sitting on the porch, looking exhausted next to the basket of radishes that was still more than half full. James walked over. He didn't ask, "Did you sell any?" He just gently sat down, taking Diep's freezing hands into his large, warm ones. "You worked hard today," James said. Diep looked up, her eyes rimmed with red. "Honey, I'm sorry. The veggies are so good, but they complained about the price. I barely sold anything. The medicine money for Nye." James shook his head, cutting her off. He pulled a few crumpled bills from his pocket, his wages from a full day of hauling. He smoothed out each bill and placed them in Diep's hand. "Don't worry, I'm here. I moved a lot of inventory today, so the boss gave me a bonus. We aren't rich in money, but we're rich in time for each other, Diep. Remember, I used to have millions of dollars, but I never got to sit and watch the sunset with you like this." They looked at each other. There was no regret in their eyes for the golden past. They saw a future in each other, rocky maybe, but full of love. Little Nye ran out cheering when she saw James home. The three of them gathered around a simple meal with a bowl of hot radish soup. James picked out the sweetest piece of radish for Diep. In that dilapidated stone house, the laughter felt warmer than any lavish banquet he had ever attended. The peace of that remote countryside was suddenly shattered one scorching afternoon. Not by thunder, but by the smooth yet powerful purr of a luxury car engine. A glossy black car rolled slowly onto the rough dirt road, its wide tires crunching over the gravel, creating a jarring contrast between ultimate luxury and the stark poverty of the place. The car stopped a short distance from James's stone house because the road was too narrow. The door opened. Out stepped not a bodyguard or a business partner, but a woman in her 50s, elegant and noble. It was Mrs. Lon, James's mother. Mrs. Lon took off her expensive sunglasses. Her eyes squinted not because of the sun, but from the shock of the scene before her. She had hired a private investigator to secretly track down her son, defying her husband's orders. She had assumed James was just living in some budget apartment in the suburbs, but never even in her worst nightmares did she imagine this. In front of her was a house cobbled together from rough stones with an old corrugated iron roof, surrounded by vegetable patches, a chicken coop, and dust. "Oh my God! James?" Mrs. Lan whispered, a trembling hand coming up to cover her mouth to stifle a sob. Mrs. Lan tiptoed closer, her high heels sinking into the soft soil, making her walk unsteadily, much like her heart was wavering right now. She hid behind an old banana tree, looking into the small yard. There, her only son, the man once dubbed a business genius, who used to only wear bespoke suits from London, was chopping wood. James was shirtless, exposing a back drenched in sweat under the harsh sun. The pale, scholarly skin of the past had turned a deep, sunburnt bronze. Every muscle tensed as he swung the axe. Crack. The sound of the axe splitting dry wood rang out sharply. James paused to wipe the sweat from his forehead, then bent down to pick up the wood chips and stack them neatly in a corner. The way he walked, he was limping slightly, probably the aftermath of hauling too many heavy loads yesterday. Mrs. Lon saw it all. She saw her son's worn-out canvas shoes caked in mud. She saw the long, bleeding scratch on his bicep from a thorn bush. And most painful of all, she saw his lunch sitting on a bamboo cot. Just a bowl of plain white rice, a few pieces of braised tofu, and a bowl of broth from boiled vegetables. No delicacies, no servants. A mother's heart felt like it was being squeezed tight. She couldn't take it anymore. James, my son." Her heart-wrenching cry rang out in the stifling summer noon heat. James startled, and the axe dropped from his hands to the ground. He turned around, stunned, to see his mother standing there, tears streaming down her face, her makeup smeared from crying. "Mom!" James gasped, his voice cracking. Mrs. Lan rushed over, not caring about her expensive silk dress getting dirty, and hugged her son tight, even though he was soaked in sweat and dust. "Oh, honey, how did it come to this? Why do you have to suffer like this, James?" She sobbed the cry of a mother watching her own flesh and blood endure such misery. James stood still for a moment, then gently wrapped his arms around his mother. His rough, calloused hands touched her trembling shoulders. "Mom, I'm fine. Really, I'm okay." Mrs. Lan pulled back a little to look at him clearly. She took James's hands and turned them over. In the past, these hands were soft with long fingers used to gliding over piano keys or signing important documents. And now, thick calluses covered in scars, fingernails stained black from tree sap. Mrs. Lan pressed his hand against her cheek, her tears falling freely into her son's palm. "Look at your hands. Look at you. You're so thin. Why? How could your father treat you like this? He's your biological father. How could he be so cruel as to push you to the brink, forcing you to live this life of abject poverty?" James helped his mother sit on the rickety bamboo cot. He poured her a cup of fresh tea leaves, a rustic drink she had probably never tasted in her life. "Drink some water, Mom," James said, his voice calm, but his eyes full of love. Mrs. Lan held the cup but didn't drink. She looked at James with a mix of resentment and pity. "I'm taking you home. Immediately. I don't care what your father says. I have my own money. I'll take care of you and Diep. You can't live in this godforsaken place doing this heavy manual labor. You were born to be a leader, not a manual laborer." Dahanchi kamama vinsei. James smiled a gentle smile Mrs. Lan had never seen when he was CEO. He held her hand. "Mom, look at me closely. I'm thinner. I'm darker. My hands are ugly. But do I look sad to you?" Mrs. Lan was stunned. She looked deep into her son's eyes. There was no resentment, no scheming, no exhaustion from pressure, only silence and peace. Before. James continued, "Every day I went back to the villa, I felt empty. I ate abalone and shark fin, but it didn't taste good. I slept on a soft mattress, but had to take sleeping pills every night. But now, even though my body is aching, I eat with a great appetite, and I sleep deeply. And most importantly, I get to live with the person I love, taking care of my family with my own hands. That is happiness, Mom." Just then, Diep stepped out of the kitchen. She had been standing there the whole time, silently wiping away tears. She brought out a plate of steaming, hot-boiled sweet potatoes. She bowed to Mrs. Lan politely, but timidly, afraid her presence would make Mrs. Lan even angrier. But Mrs. Lan didn't scold Diep. Seeing how Diep gently wiped the sweat from James, seeing James's eyes light up when he saw Diep, she understood that no amount of money could buy this kind of love. She pulled Diep close, choking up, "I'm sorry. I couldn't protect you two, leaving you two to suffer like this." The brief, tear-filled reunion had to end. Mrs. Lan couldn't stay long for fear of her husband finding out. Before getting in the car, Mrs. Lon took a bank card out of her purse and shoved it into James's hand. "Take it. This is my money. It has nothing to do with your father. Use it to fix up the house, buy some good food. Don't break my heart." James firmly pushed her hand back. "Mom, thank you. But I promised Dad I would leave with empty hands to prove my choice was right. If I take this money, I lose. I want to stand on my own 2 feet. Just take care of your health, Mom. If you can sneak out to visit me sometimes, that's enough to make me happy." Mrs. Lon looked at the determination in her son's eyes. She felt both anger and pity, but above all, respect. The little boy from years ago had truly grown up, becoming a man with more backbone than his own father. She stepped into the car, the door closing to separate 2 different worlds. Through the tinted window, she saw James and Diep waving goodbye, looking so small amidst the vast hills, but radiating a powerful resilience. The car rolled away. Mrs. Lon sat in the back seat, tears still flowing. She remembered the image of James's calloused hands, the meager meal, and his sunburnt back. The heartbreak turned into fury. She clenched her fists. Why? How could he be so cruel? She asked herself, her voice trembling with indignation. She pulled out her phone, then put it back. She knew a call wasn't enough. She had to face him. "Take me home. Now!" She ordered the driver, her voice hardening her eyes, losing the weakness she had shown just moments before. "I need to speak to the boss." Immediately, she had made up her mind. No more silence. She was going to tell her husband everything she saw. She was going to show him that he wasn't teaching their son a lesson. He was killing their family bond with his tyranny. A new war was about to begin inside that gold-plated villa. And this time, a mother was going to stand up to protect her son's simple happiness. Mrs. Land's luxury car slowly rolled through the iron gates, intricately carved with dragons and phoenixes entering the villa's courtyard. Unlike the heartbreakingly peaceful silence of the countryside where James lived, this villa was ablaze with lights, yet it radiated a chilling, lonely coldness. Mrs. Lon stepped out. She didn't change. She was still wearing the dress stained with mud from her trip. She walked straight into the living room where Mr. Min, the chairman and James's father, was sitting by the fireplace reading a newspaper. Mr. Min looked up, his thick brows furrowing at his wife's disheveled appearance. "Where have you been looking like such a mess? You went to look for him again, didn't you?" His voice was ice cold, devoid of emotion, his eyes never leaving the financial section. Mrs. Land didn't answer immediately. She stood silently in the middle of the room, looking at the man she had lived with for 30 years. Before, she had always feared his authority, always silently submitting. But the image of James's bleeding hands from that afternoon gave her an invisible strength. "I saw our son." Mrs. Lon spoke up, her voice hoarse, but every word clear. "And I think you need to hear what I'm about to say, right now." Mr. Min folded his newspaper, took off his reading glasses, and sighed in boredom. "If you're planning to ask me to forgive him, forget it. He chose to leave. He has to take responsibility. Until he crawls back here and admits he was wrong, as far as I'm concerned, I don't have a son. Admit He was wrong. Mrs. Lon laughed bitterly, tears starting to stream down her face. Where exactly do you think he went wrong? Was he wrong for truly loving someone? Or was he wrong for not wanting to become a soulless money-making machine like you? She walked closer and slammed her handbag down on the glass table. Do you know what I saw today? I saw your son, the heir to the royal group, shirtless, baking his back in 100-degree heat to chop wood. I saw him eating plain rice with salty tofu. I saw those hands that used to sign million-dollar contracts, now calloused, cracked, and covered in scars from hauling timber and rocks. Mr. Min froze. His eyes wavered. He reached for his wine glass to take a sip and hide his emotions, but his hand trembled slightly. So what hard work is honorable? If he wants to be a commoner, let him, he said, trying to maintain his tough front. You are so cruel. Mrs. Land screamed, letting out the frustration she had suppressed for so long. He's skin and bones, he's sunburnt, but you know what he's smiling. For the first time in years, I saw our son smile with real peace. He told me that even though his body aches, his mind is at ease. He and Diep, they take care of each other in every little way. That girl Diep, the one you look down on, as poor and lowly, she cried when she saw James in pain. She treated every scratch on your son's hands like it was more important than her own life. Mrs. Lon collapsed into the chair, burying her face in her hands and sobbing. You failed Min. You used money to punish him, but you accidentally helped him find the kind of happiness that you will never have. You kept the chairman's seat, but you've lost your son forever. Mrs. Lon stormed off to her room, leaving Mr. Min sitting all alone in the vast living room. The sound of the pouring rain outside seemed to match the chaos swirling inside him. He stood up and went into his office. He unlocked his desk drawer and pulled out an old photograph. It was James as a boy sitting on his shoulders, both of them beaming with joy. Back then, he wasn't as wealthy as he is now, but he had time for his son. Daddy, when I grow up, I'm going to build you a huge house. James's innocent voice from the past echoed in his mind. He looked down at his own hand, wearing a diamond ring, yet feeling so cold. Then he imagined his son's calloused hands that his wife had just described. Chopping wood, hauling cargo, he mumbled. A sharp pain shot through his chest. The pride of a corporate titan crumbled. He realized his extreme restrictions weren't for James's own good, but out of selfishness. He wanted James to live the life he had mapped out, not the life James wanted. He had pushed his own son into misery just to satisfy his own ego. And Diep, the girl he had labeled a gold digger. If she were greedy, she would have left James the moment he lost everything. But she was still there, suffering right alongside him. That kind of love, his money couldn't buy it. Mr. Min slumped over his desk. In the dim, yellow light, the most powerful man in the business world was trembling. A rare tear fell onto the cold glass surface of the desk. He regretted it. He truly regretted it. As dawn broke and the rain stopped, Mr. Min picked up the phone and called his most trusted assistant, the only one who knew where James was. Hello, Chairman, the voice on the other end answered. Get the car ready and call the legal team immediately. Mr. Min's voice rang out no longer angry, but replaced by a strange determination. "The legal team, sir. What are you planning?" The assistant was surprised. Mr. Min stood up looking out the window toward the distant misty mountains. "I'm going to draft a transfer agreement, and I'm going to go pick them up myself." He paused for a moment, then added his voice, dropping to a mysterious low. "But I'm not bringing him back as a young master. I have a different plan. A plan to test his mettle one last time, and also to make it up to Diep." Dear friends, the regretful father has made a decision. He wants to bring his son home, but it comes with a testing plan. Is this decision a liberation that opens the door to happiness for James and Diep? Or is it the start of a new tragedy? Will Mr. Min, personally showing up with a massive team of lawyers, make James misunderstand? Will he think his father has come to snatch away his little daughter Nie, or force him to return? On one side is a powerful father wanting to fix his mistakes, but still carrying the mindset of a superior. On the other is a son who has found freedom and would rather die than lose his small family. Will the upcoming meeting between these two men, two different ideals at that simple stone house, be a tearful reunion or a fiery battle? And what exactly is in that document, giving them everything or taking it all away in a different form? The answer will be revealed in the next part, The Devil's Contract, or A Father's Gift. Goodbye for now, and see you tomorrow for the next chapter of CEO James and Diep's story.